Welcome, everyone. It's great to see some familiar faces out there. Welcome back. You're joining us for From the Expert's Lens. I am your host, Angela Timberlake, the Vice President of Elevate Women with JAXUSA, and I am honored to have Aundra Wallace, the President of JAXUSA Partnerships, with us today. Aundra, welcome.
Hey, Angela, how are you today?
Hey, I'm good. You know,
Great.
every time I hear you talk about the growth and the investment that's happening here in Northeast Florida, I'm always inspired and motivated to continue to push our mission forward. So I was hoping that you could share with our audience today, from your perspective and talk about the growth and how that's, ultimately going to impact women in leadership. So what I'd like to do is turn it over to you and share, the state of the region that you shared previously before, and then we'll leave time at the end for some questions.
Sure, no problem. And just a pleasure to be here before everyone today. And it's great to have you on board working with us here at JAXUSA and the JAX Chamber itself. As you indicated, what I really want to do today is give a good overview how we're performing as a region. Some of the things that we encountered last year, some of the things that we're up against this year and into the future, and really want to talk about how women play a vital role in economic development and how we have to maintain and fight hard to ensure that women continue to be part of the growth of our economy. COVID-19 has really impacted everyone, but I think it adversely, even more so, probably had an impact more so on our women professionals in the workplace, as well as on boards, etc. So how do we basically make sure that we do not lose our women professional talent in the workplace, on boards equally as well? So I'll talk a little bit about that and take some questions if needed towards the end of my presentation. But what I really want to talk about is, we're in year 3 of our Elevate Northeast Florida strategic plan, which is a 5-year strategic plan. And Elevate Women is part of our talent pillar of our plan. So last month, we provided our 2021 strategic plan, apprising many in our region and stakeholders about our accomplishments of the team of JAXUSA and their partners and our partners, about moving our region forward to reach our vision and becoming the highest performing economy in the United States. As I mentioned during that event, the state of our region is very strong. And this is despite the challenges that our region and world at large experienced in 2020 due to the global pandemic. So, but moving forward, prior to the pandemic, in December of 2019, our unemployment rate for the Jacksonville MSA was at about 2.6%, presenting a challenge of having more jobs than skilled workforce to fill the available positions. So this challenge brought about a need to aggressively attract talent from outside the region while ensuring that the development of talent in our school systems for the jobs that were being created. So flash forward to December of 2020, as the Jacksonville MSA was experiencing an unemployment rate of 4.8%. But throughout the pandemic, I can definitely say that our MSA consistently had been the lowest of any major MSA in the entire state of Florida, as well as many of our competitors outside of the state. And that was basically looking at cities such as Nashville, Atlanta, as well as Charlotte itself. So while we're at today what we consider full employment, we're not satisfied at being at 4.8% unemployment. So we're looking to definitely improve upon that from a regional standpoint. But despite the challenges that were brought on by the events of 2020, JAXUSA made significant strides in reaching the goals directed through our Elevate Northeast Florida strategic plan. Competition continues to be fierce in terms of job creation, especially with the changes in our state's arsenal of economic development programs that may prohibit some business expansion. But therefore, it's more important now more than ever that we're meeting, and in many cases, that we're also exceeding the goals of our Elevate Northeast Florida strategic plan to ensure we reach our vision of being the highest performing economy in the nation and to continue to protect the livelihoods of Northeast Florida businesses as well as residents. So what are the 4 areas of our Elevate Northeast Florida strategic plan that we focus upon. We focus upon, deepening our target industries and intensifying support for growth. And, second, we're emboldening our global brand and expanding our awareness. Also, growing our innovation ecosystem in our region. And fourth, empowering partnerships to advance education and workforce. These are the real 4 pillars of our strategic plan of Elevate Northeast Florida itself. Let's talk about deepening our industry clusters. First, our region had an exceptional year in terms of job announcements and investments in our 5 target industries, which are included in our strategic plan. Our diverse target industry mix based on the region's assets are what helped us stay competitive throughout the year, allowing us to fare better than most of our competitors within the state of Florida, as well as in the Southeast region itself. We saw job announcements in each of our 5 target industries, which happen to be, advanced manufacturing, financial services, health, biomedical, IT innovation, as well as the advanced transportation logistics. So starting out 2020 strong last year was important, due to the, what tends to happen sometimes you see an economic development cooling period. So that's, that's typically seen in any type of presidential election year. But between January and February 2020 last year, prior to the pandemic having arrived in Florida, to everyone's knowledge, JAXUSA had already announced 6 projects in advanced manufacturing and advanced transportation logistics. So we got off to a tremendous start in 2020 last year that was able to really propel us. So some of the early announcements that we had in 2020 last year, Collins Aerospace, Eagle LNG, Wayfair expansions, and aerospace manufacturer Made to Space, we got them to relocate their headquarters from Silicon Valley, California to Jacksonville. So in March, following the economic lockdowns, JAXUSA, we were swift in pivoting to continue our work to increase jobs and bring capital investment by developing and utilizing new virtual site tools, and do research to continue the momentum that we had already established. So with the consistent pipeline of qualified projects throughout the year, our team was able to cultivate, maintain relationships through tech platforms like Zoom, which is what we're on right now. Some other platforms, Microsoft Teams, whether it's GoToWebinar, conferencing, to conduct client presentations in lieu of in-person site visits. So we had to really, really work hard to maintain that relationship the best way that we possibly actually could. So, so JAXUSA, we took advantage of Google Mapping for virtual site tours. That includes properties and information in relation to points of interest. And, we launched a new GIS web tech recruit tool on our JAXUSA.org website. And that also provided business owners, it provided brokers, it provided site selectors, as well as communities with available commercial and industrial sites and buildings within the region. So this searchable database that we used, it had all the available buildings and sites. It also provided information with regards to available workforce in the region, demographic data, incentive information, and customized reports. So even though we were not able to meet with people in person, we were still able to do things virtually that made people really feel like they were still getting that hands-on approach from us. So with the combination of virtual tools that we were able to implement and the tireless effort of our team as well as our partners, we resulted in an additional 10 announcements in all of our 5 targeted areas in the latter half of 2020. Remember, I said we had 6 announcements at the beginning of the year, and then throughout from April on to the end of the year, we had an additional 10 announcements as well. So what did that all entail? So for 2020, we were able to talk about some expansions such as Facura. Facura is a healthcare a healthcare IT company. They brought in 115 jobs and a new corporate headquarters here in Jacksonville, a local homegrown company here, Facura. Synergy Technologies, another local homegrown healthcare IT company. They expanded by 300 jobs, 1.4 million in CapEx. We were able to lure from New York, Cantor Fitzgerald with 80 new jobs. They established their Jacksonville office here. We're able to work in advanced manufacturing and work with companies such as H&M Metal Processing, as well as Flying W Plastics, which shows Jacksonville, due to our Southeast location, access to infrastructure, skilled workforce, and just, basically our business-friendly environment, as well as we work with UPS. UPS has their fourth largest distribution facility right here in the Jacksonville region. And, we were able to work with them to add 300 additional jobs, but more importantly, they also invested $147 million of capital expenditure all of last year. So I would say 2020 was a huge success for us, with 16 announcements, 2,477 new jobs, $857 million in CapEx. So I'll say overall, the coordinated economic development efforts in 2020 for JAXUSA were very, very good. Oftentimes, we neglect to mention the opportunity for employment that attributed to indirectly or induced jobs as an effort based upon the direct jobs that we bring in. So when you really look at the 16 announcements that we had, the almost 2,500 new jobs that we were able to bring in, those jobs, those direct jobs also indirectly induced an additional 1,400 jobs for the actual region itself. So you had a true trickle-down effect of the work that we were doing at JAXUSA and bringing in jobs for last year. So it was very, very good. So when we look at 2021, we're off to a good start. We've already had two announcements thus far, with Amazon announcing 2 projects, 550 jobs, 90 million in CapEx already. And just yesterday, we were able to announce Malnode, which is they're expanding here by additional 10 jobs and $7 million in CapEx. So right now, we've got a robust pipeline of nearly 50 projects that we're working on. Of those projects, 20 are considered imminent, and announcements are pending with high probability of coming to one of our 7 counties within the region itself. So we're very excited about that. These projects represent more than 2,800 jobs and more than $547 million of capital investment. So we're keeping our fingers crossed about those particular projects that could come to fruition. So as we look for 2021, we'll pay particular attention to industries seeing continued success in this current climate. Industrial projects, including e-commerce, distribution centers, and advanced manufacturing, will remain active going forward. And they found our region to be to really truly meet their needs. So also we're going to focus a lot on biotech and life sciences. We'll have an opportunity for our region as attention on public health remain strong, and in many cases convert some of this available office space as well as some of the additional space within the region, try and convert that for the utilization for life sciences as well. So we really have a very active 2021 outlook for us. So, getting right to the heart of it, with regards to the office vacancy, while many companies are still working remotely, when you look at a Price Waterhouse study, the U.S. executives and employees they're not prepared to abandon the office. When you really begin to look at it, 3/4 of executives really feel like the employees are going to be coming back to the office towards the latter part of this year. So when you compare that with 60% of the employees are saying that they're prepared to come back to the office, with that said, 87% of executives expect to see changes in their real estate footprint. Some people are going to be looking to consolidate spaces and to what they'll consider some premier locations, and then open up satellite locations in other destinations equally as well. So due to companies' decisions, to leave some of the high cost cities, high dense locations, we still have tremendous opportunity here in the Jacksonville region, particularly in the financial services and IT innovation sector. So we believe this is an opportunity for us at JAXUSA to really showcase our region and talk about the space that's available to people that are in high dense cities to really come to our region itself. So as we, also look at what's important for us from a global branding perspective, this is our second pillar of Elevate Northeast Florida. It involves emboldening our regional's brand and increasing awareness. So during 2020, the opportunities to capture business and talent became even greater. as both audiences were more likely to make decisions about their futures, particularly those in high cost and high dense cities and regions. And so, as I mentioned earlier, companies will, they're still making relocation expansion decisions. I feel like later on throughout this year, and contemplating their, where their new destinations are going to be. So low cost states and low cost areas like Jacksonville are still going to be very friendly and be definitely going to be on the minds of those particular companies. So we're gonna still face that immense competition from other areas, but I like our chances to have companies still locate here in the region itself. So our global brand is really truly important from that standpoint. So also, when we looked at early 2020, JAXUSA launched 2 components of our global brand. We had a brand new brand video that showcases our region. We've revamped our talent attraction website known as findyourjax.com. The videos provides visual storytelling to introduce business to our region, featuring all factors that are looking for, that the companies are looking for in terms of low barriers, low cost barriers to business. What are our assets, for our target industries. So the imagery and the original spoken word voiceover for our local poet story, for make your way to our region, that received high regards. And as today's companies, they say skilled workforce is their #1 factor in relocation. So the video also appeals to a current as well as future talent who will get a better sense of what our region has to offer. And so targeted to the potential new residents, the interactive websites features vibrant imagery, job opportunities, lifestyle, livability information, schools, how to volunteer, what does our arts and culture look like, what's our ecological health, all the information that I think that's important to individuals wanting to come to Jacksonville region right now. And these videos also serve as valuable resources for our local human resources and talent, particularly people in the HR profession utilizing it. So the Find Your Jax website was the precursor to a robust campaign, which we introduced about digital ambassadors, to basically talk about share your Jax story. So we use this with companies such as Made in Space, getting their employees to share their stories on our website so that people can really understand why people really love to live in this region and why they like working here as well. So also when we looked at 2020, looking back, we looked at LinkedIn's economic graph research. It showed that Jacksonville made the biggest gains in population of any city in the nation between April and August of last year. And the number of people coming to Jacksonville versus leaving was nearly 11 percentage points higher during that time in 2020 than 2019. And so although the ranking is just an example of, the great story that we have to tell, the growth of our campaign will draw more awareness and increase population, particularly in the industries that we have great opportunities for. So, competing against cities like Salt Lake, Sacramento, Milwaukee, and Kansas City, it shows the strength of our region overall. So when you think about our third pillar, which is growing our innovation ecosystem, this is related to becoming the preeminent smart region. However, since the initiation of our strategy, we found that there's more to explore in terms of innovation for our region. The smart region story is part of our larger initiative in which our region can take advantage about being a true robust innovation ecosystem itself. I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that we're trying to get accomplished there. One of the biggest innovation announcements that we had last year was the development between the JAX Chamber and our JTA, which is Jacksonville Transportation Authority, to develop a pre-accelerator technology space at the Jacksonville Regional Transportation Center to prepare startups that have great ideas but are not yet ready for an incubator just yet. So the pre-accelerator will be known as our Open Innovation Center. It's going to be the first in the state that's really headed by a chamber, and probably the first in the Southeast from that standpoint. So, it will join other established and growing regional incubators, such as the one that Mayo has, the one that UNF has, which is in downtown, as well as the one in Nocatee as well. So the space is currently being built out, and initiatives will be getting underway next month. Dr. Carlton Robinson will be heading that up for us. and will be really leading the innovation ecosystem for us here. So the Open Innovation is an initiative that will bring industry challenges of large employers together with solutions from the innovation community through what we'll call, through an initiative called Calls to Innovate. So the first of which will be a consortium of players in the healthcare who will be announcing a call to innovate this quarter to develop use cases for implementation at companies. And through this initiative, the goal is to have real world solutions with significant impact on how global industries perform and how these ideas are developed right here within our region. So this type of collaboration and expected outcomes are unique to our region, and there's an interest from other regions as well to work with us on this initiative. So we have the innovative talent right here in our region and beyond, and this forum will give them an opportunity to present their ideas and to large employers within our region. So continuing with talent development and tech, with regards to innovation talent, JAXUSA has been strategically working with our region's colleges and universities to increase the opportunity and number of graduates with tech degrees and certifications. For example, with the city's early adoption of the autonomous vehicle, JTA has been working with the FSCJ to expand testing and educational initiatives, developing influx of new talent prepared to work in the innovation sector here in our region, and also the development of Northeast Florida's FinTech initiative will allow for a robust pipeline of top regional talent for our region. So as we all know, unfortunately, men still far outpace women in the tech field. But according to some IT studies, women only hold 1/4 of all tech jobs, and more than 2/3 of the women do not consider a career in tech, which is one of the fastest growing industries in the country itself. So let's focus on women in tech. Jacksonville is well on its way when it comes to closing these disparities. So this month, when you begin to look at smart assets, ranked Jacksonville the 10th best city for women in tech, up 1 spot from 2020. So citing that women in the city make up nearly 30% of the market's tech workforce, the 11th largest in the survey, Jacksonville women in tech also earn 93 cents to every $1 for a male that's working in tech, which is the 9th smallest gender pay gap overall. So still not where we want to be. There's still a lot of work to be done, and we're going to continue to work hard and improving on that particular data point. We also want to make sure that we're teaching the skills for both women and men to achieve greater opportunities in tech. There's an opportunity to offer tech education to small business owners and existing employees of larger companies to fill needs outside of colleges and university programs. The Jax Bridges Work and Learn program was developed in part of a grant from AT&T to provide upskilling with real world application. So the program offers training on tech platforms like SQL, data visualization, Power BI, chatbots, and more to provide audiences the skills needed to a rapidly changing environment. So small business owners can take advantage of the training on their own and to grow their business. Corporate investors can send their employees to receive the training, allowing them to grow and add value in their workplace while the company meets their needs with existing employees, potentially opening up new job opportunities for them within the company. So several local companies have already expressed interest in the program, and we look forward to seeing how this continues to grow in 2021 as well as into the future. So let's talk about advancing the workforce. Finally, this is our last pillar of Elevate Northeast Florida strategic plan, and we all know the disruption that K through 12 and post-secondary education that was caused by COVID-19 presented a tremendous challenge to our children. So notwithstanding that, JAXUSA has kept the momentum going in terms of preparing our youth for regional job opportunities in target industries, especially as we see thousands of these jobs posted on findyourjax.com's job board even today itself. So this momentum resulted in the launch of our Career Pathways campaign, which deepens the understanding of our region's industries and opportunities, as well as the level of education needed to obtain those careers a full year earlier than we had anticipated. The campaign launched with a newly enhanced microsite known as earnup.org with resources that are aimed at engaging and enticing and making it exciting for K through 12 and post-secondary students as they're defining and determining what their career choices are going to be. The site also features short industry hype videos designed to appeal to the students. So it's also designed to drive traffic to this website. Over the course of the year, JAXUSA has delivered 65 presentations for more than 1,400 secondary and post-secondary partners, resulting in more than 7,000 visits to the EarnUp website. So we're going to continue this particular trend in 2021 itself. So as we get into about the regional talent ecosystem, it's what we call our Talent Advancement Network. As I said before, acronym for us is known as the TAN. The TAN is a committee of local HR professionals and education providers led by the senior VP at Citigroup, Rebecca Callahan. They're committed to creating a stronger regional talent base by improving the relationships between education systems, target businesses in our region. So the TAN has been instrumental in reaching Elevate's goals to increase employer participation in our career academies and career technical educations programs known as CTE. So by fostering employer involvement in the region's K through 12 school systems and higher education institutions, we make the programs in our target industries more viable with meaningful impact. So JAXUSA has increased support for new educational programs to support talent development gaps, such as opportunities in fintech, and we're seeing great trends there. So building off of 2019's regional fintech growth, Governor DeSantis challenged us in 2019 to really become the fintech center. And so we were able to do that with FSCJ and St. John State River College coming together and applying for funds from the state. And in February of 2020, Governor DeSantis awarded this region $3.6 million to get the first FinTech Academy going. So this initiative is to develop more talent in FinTech and will position our workforce to be trained in the skills of growing industry and create a pipeline for FinTech here in the region. So we want to make sure that we get as many women as possible into this program. So in addition to developing talent and identifying gaps, specifically advancing women in the workforce and leadership roles, we found the need for direct and deliberate action. So that's what we're taking. So our Elevate Women Initiative, which you've heard me, which Angela's been talking to you about, it is led by Angela. And we're so happy to have her here leading this particular pillar for us. The JWLC study, uncovered that women in Northeast Florida are underrepresented in many areas of the workplace and in leadership, particularly on corporate boards, as well as in roles in government. And in the first year, the initiative laid the foundation through discovery of strategic planning, building a brand to create awareness locally, by building the brand with the development of a logo, populating social media channels with content that promotes the initiative's goals, accomplishments, as well as next steps. And through speaking engagements, two speaker series with local and national experts who provide insight, advice and detailed analysis on topics related to women's advancement in leadership and alignment of key stakeholder networks. So we believe this initiative is going to accomplish these goals set forth on the onset. So retention, as I said earlier, of a female talent is key, is very key by advocating for policies that will allow for women to not only remain in the workforce, but excel in their current positions or advance equally as well. So with the JWLC, the Elevate Women Initiative has been studying issues that affect women through the focus group, through task force, interacting change, particularly the support of the adoption of family-friendly policies, which has been exposed, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. So by tackling and refining these policies, we will not only be able to develop pathways for women in the workforce locally, but the goal is for companies to adopt them on a larger scale to improve the diversity of their workforce and their own successes equally as well. So, we've only just begun. Year 2 of Elevate Women's Initiative will be focused on understanding the potential barriers to women in leadership and positioning women in our community into a pipeline, a board, as well as executive leadership. And through the initiative led by Angela, the task force will work with identifying and connecting women to corporate boards, as well as executive office and C-suite positions. And she will also work with corporate CEOs, presidents, HR officers to understand the company's goals for diversifying the workforce, particularly at leadership level, and to cultivate local talent pipeline through recommendation via strategic networks. And since knowing the process for corporate board selection is only half the battle, JWOC and Angela, from a teamwork standpoint, will provide this readiness service. So Angela, these are my comments about the state of our region, the work that you're doing, and how partnering with JWLC and having you lead Elevate Women's Initiative for JAX Chamber, JAXUSA. We're here. I want everyone on this Zoom to understand that we're here to support the work that Angela's doing, and it's not just talk. Giving Angela the resources that she needs to be successful and be successful for everyone and be successful for this region, more importantly. So thank you for your time this afternoon, Angela. I can take any questions that anyone has at the present time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andre. As I said, it's great to just see what's happening around us. So what I'd like to do is kind of talk more specifically about how you see this impacting women in leadership. So with all the growth that's happening, how do you see this translate into women's opportunities into leadership?
It presents the opportunities because at the end of the day, having women at the table, as we have you here working with us, making sure that that is on our mind in decision making, that is important. That's going to be very important for companies growing, making sure that they know that we are taking seriously diversity, inclusion, equity in everything that we're doing. That is important for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And how I see it is, opening the workforce and bringing more workforce to this region fills our pipeline, right? There's studies that show that women are more likely to have managerial positions. That fills our pipeline for those senior level leaders. So the growth that we see in the workforce does translate to women filling our pipeline. So I think it's fantastic.
Absolutely.
So let me put you on the hot seat a little bit. So one of the questions that we get quite a bit, or we're presented with, is that we're going to take men's jobs, right? We're going to take the role of men. So from your perspective, should men be concerned about losing their seat at the table? How do we accomplish, our mission to elevate women without being seen as a threat?
Should men be worried? No. This is a all-inclusive process. So if you're worried, that's your own ego that's standing in the way of progress. If you don't have diversity, I can here to tell you that your organization, your company is not going to reach its full potential. So having diverse individuals at the table from an ethnicity standpoint, from a gender perspective, having all ideas and listening, not discounting people. One of the biggest things that we as men have is we think we got all the answers, and we don't. And a lot of times we are like the horse with the blinders on. The best way to get there is directly that way. And we don't even encounter some of the hurdles that are in our way. And we don't ask the one thing I can tell you, and my wife can profess to that, is she asks all of the tough questions that I'm only mentally thinking about, but I mentally answer those questions myself, and I never really think about the outcomes of the decision that I actually made. So if you're not having that thought process with what you're doing from a company perspective, you're going to make some mistakes. And so I really feel like that if from a male perspective, if you're looking at it in terms of you can't share, the seats at the table from a gender perspective, then you're going to become that dinosaur. And I think that's not what anybody really wants at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. One of the other things that you and I talk about is, given the makeup and the current landscape that we're talking about here in the Northeast Florida region, how do we inspire that change? How do we change the course of history and open up new ways of thinking and challenge that old school thinking?
Sure, if I had that answer, I think America would be different. But I don't have that answer 100%, but here's what I do know. You have to chip away at it incrementally, and you have to do it inclusive with everyone, and making people part of the solution of change, and that they want to be on the right side of history. And you don't want to be, when your children, when your grandchildren grow up and say, wow, man, granddad, he just wasn't with the times. You don't want that story said about you itself. So the best way to do it is talk about how this community grows collectively together and how everyone has an actual role in that. And be honest. Not everyone's going to get on board, and that's okay. The ship continues to move forward with those that are willing to move forward, and you just continuously bring the successes to the table, and you celebrate those successes, and eventually people want to be part of the party. And that's always, and I mean, that's what I've seen in my career standpoint. You don't bash people that don't want to be part of it. You just bring so many people into the tent. Everybody wants to be part of the party eventually, and that's the way that you've got to go about it.
Yeah. And that is, as you mentioned, part of our strategy to bring those CEOs, those presidents and the chief HR officers together, so especially, working with those ones first that are willing and have a desire, and let's bring those discussions forward and start moving and driving the momentum. So that's our strategy. So now how do we, given the current, climate and the civil unrest that we're talking about as a nation, do you see this getting lost in the conversation?
It's up to everyone on this Zoom to keep it part of the conversation. There's nothing like selective amnesia, and America has that, no matter whatever the issue is. As soon as we get the vaccination rolled out and everybody's vaccinated, we're going to all go back to, hopefully, we're all going to all go back to March 15th, 2020. That's what we're all trying to get to. We're trying to go back to that time frame when life is what was normal there. So there are a lot of things that took place since then that we're going to want to forget about. You cannot. You have to continuously move forward. And things that we're talking about right now have to be addressed, because at the end of the day, what you don't want to see take place, Angela, is that all we did is kick the can down the road for the next generation of individuals to have to tackle the same issue. That means that you're not progressing. We have to suck it up, and we have to address the issues, and we have to talk to each other. And it's going to be hard conversations, because at the end of the day, we all, people love to talk about changing, but boy, do you hate to change, and so that's the real challenge that comes with putting talk to actual action. Everybody thinks when they say, well, there needs to be change, but they never see themselves changing. So you got to be part of the change if you're going to talk it. So we all got to talk it, we've all got to walk it, and we've all got to be part of it.
Yeah, I love it. And, I think through our efforts, bringing it into the conversation and keeping it out in front will hold us all accountable. So that's the goal of our efforts. So we do have a few questions if you're up for a few more. They're coming from the audience.
I saw one come in, so I'll address Debbie's question. What I don't want to see have happen with the discussion of how we elevate women is that we get into a conversation where we don't have people of color, of a gender perspective, focused and equally present in this dialogue and conversation. If I'm not the history buff, but if I just look at the women's movement in this country itself, it really broke down at one point in time from a ethnicity standpoint. Let's not have that in terms of what we're doing right now. I think that you have to have all women from an ethnic standpoint, everyone from, whatever your sexual orientation is, everybody has to be all inclusive in this conversation in order for it to be a true success. You don't want to look back and it just benefited some, it didn't benefit all. If you're going to be about elevating women, it said women. It didn't just say some segment, it said women. And you got to be intentional about that.
Great. Okay, another question that we have, it's in reference to some of the new opportunities that opened up here. Do we have an indication right now of the percentage of leadership roles in some of those new partnerships, Wayfair, Eagle? Do we know that yet?
Not yet. So a lot of times what happens, they tell us what the positions are going, the number of positions. They haven't given us that total breakdown in terms of what's management, what's senior management, what's middle management, what's straight employee standpoint. Once we're able to get those numbers, which we try to get from them as they become more operational, we're in a position to know what positions are available, and then try and help get them on findyourjax.com so people can apply for those particular roles. Or if they're looking for staffing companies or recruiting or executive recruitment companies, to be able to help them find the companies and basically help them find companies that help the employers find the right diversity that they're looking for. That's also one of the ways that we try and help with that as well.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with Aaron Bowman, who leads up the business development, and how do we get on the front side of some of those new opportunities that are coming to Jacksonville. Typically, the executive team isn't here; they're somewhere else. But sometimes they put in, senior leadership. And sometimes they're done way ahead of time. So we're getting a strategy in place to get that on the front end and early in those discussions, so we can help, fill that pipeline with local Jacksonville people.
Sure.
So one other question. It said, you mentioned that the organizations have found our city to meet their needs. What do you feel is the key decision factor in these organizations choosing JAX over other cities?
In terms of meeting their needs, they're finding talented individuals with the skills that they need. That's that's the major thing for them wanting to expand. Two, from a company perspective, being able to be in an environment that's business friendly, allows them to cut some of their operational costs. Those are huge factors for them being able to make a decision about coming to the region. So it's the talent pool, finding the people that they want from a cost cutting standpoint, from the operation side. They're able to do all those things right there. So that diversity of talent is important, and we got to continue to keep that pipeline there in terms of diversity of talent standpoint.
Great. Lisa, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I think, the latter part of that was just because, listening to your presentation and you talking about the key focus areas, getting that word out there to our, our high school graduates on what areas are attracting companies and, to come here to Jacksonville, so that they really can make some good decisions about, what do I want to do? Because a lot of times they don't know what they want to focus on. And I think if I was getting, the last couple of years of high school and I wasn't still really sure, that's something I would want to be informed of is, what is out there? What is the growing, industries, not just in, overall, but what's coming here to Jacksonville? Because maybe I really want to stay here. Maybe this is my hometown and I really want to stay and I want to grow here. So I think that that's really important to know.
And Lisa, and for the entire group, so I think it's next week, I'm going to have a Zoom meeting such as this with the 7 superintendents of K-12 in our entire region, something that we had not done before. And it is the reason being, my wife's a principal in one of our suburban counties here of a middle school. So her kids are 6, 7, and 8. So I want to make sure that they begin to understand what the region has for them before they get to ninth grade in terms of career opportunities. And not just the 5 that we spoke about that we recruit for, but also the professional services as well as what I call support services. You got to recognize that not every student is going to go to the University of North Florida, JU, FSU, UF, etc. But they can go to FSCJ, upskill, get the certifications that they need, and get meaningful gainful employment right here within the region. So we have to introduce that to our superintendents so that it allows us and them with their CTE programs to make sure that their CTE programs are following the trends that we are recruiting for from a company standpoint, so that the children understand, you know what, I can go off to the University of Florida and come back and work for FIS, the largest fintech company in the entire world. Oh, by the way, headquartered in Jacksonville. They don't know that, right? So we got to make sure that they know what's here in order for them to have a greater appreciation of Jacksonville. Because right now the trend is, I finished Bowles, I'm out of here. You know, I finished Fletcher, I'm out of here. You know, and they don't look to come back. And I'm not going to date anyone on here, but, you know, from the age standpoint, we'd love to see our children come back because we want to see our grandkids, you know. So I think that's something that we've got to really, really emphasize more and more and more as we are educating K through 12 about the opportunities here within the region.
Thank you so much, Andre. You're a tremendous value to our community, and I value you as a leader in our organization. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me today, Angela, and thank you all for participating today. And it's been a pleasure to speak to you today.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.